Welcome back. It is an emotion we don't hear a lot about, but it can make a huge impact on your life. Life coach Pat Barone of Catalyst Coaching tells us more now about disappointment. And this is something we've all dealt with, but there's a point at which you feel it and it's difficult, and then there's a point where it turns into obsession and it defines your life.
Right. And you know, what's interesting about it is it's often expressed as other emotions. You might see anger outbursts or things like that, but nobody really gets into what's really the disappointment here? What's really going on?
I think it's because many times our egos as adults don't allow us to say, I feel bad because. I think the first thing is we just knee-jerk and get angry at something instead of stepping back and saying, boy, that really hurt, and that hurt me.
Yes, and I think you're right, and people do it over sometimes some pretty minor things, like the Packers. Now, we haven't had to deal with that lately, but every police officer knows that you're going to see more fights. You're going to see more domestic incidents. It's really interesting but we don't connect it to, oh yeah, I was really disappointed about something, you know, that happened. It could be something that's small.
But bringing the discussion now back to earth, no, I'm just kidding, but truly, you know, what are some signs that we need to deal with our disappointment? Because we all get sad from time to time. That's just life.
Yes, and you know, again, if you're not defining it as disappointment, you know, if you're defining it as disappointment and not defining it as being angry or sad or whatever, if you really are honing in on what's there, you're going to find that kind of, it's a dull intensity. It's not intense like other emotions.
Just creeps up on you then.
It might be a little hard to articulate because we don't talk about it a lot. And it can be specific or general. So we're seeing a lot of disappointment right now in careers and things like that with downsizing. And you know, people may have had a redirection of their career and feel very disappointed about that, and yet that's not what they're expressing. See how that kind of works?
I absolutely do. Or certain people, if you go through, for example, a divorce, you can carry that bitterness and you don't even know you have it for years and years to come. And there's a point where you've just got to turn your life around.
Right.
That's you just need to move past it.
Well, yeah, and let's talk about how you do that. How do you move past it? You, first of all, name it. You know that it's disappointment. You're not defining it as anything else, and you're not just going to be angry at somebody else for a long time.
You've already gone through your anger and whatever you need to with that.
Right. You want to be able to express it as disappointment to someone who cares about you and can understand that. And then you want to put it in the context, you know, of time. So it's disappointment for this year or this month or whatever, but think about a 30-year span of time. It's a pretty small thing. And you also want to isolate the source. You know, you might have a disappointment in your career, for instance, but other areas of your life might be fine. What would be terrible is to let that disappointment leak out and affect your family or your home or, you know, some of the other areas of life.
But I think for most people, and especially for women, if you're raising kids, for example, or even if you're a stay-at-home dad and raising kids, you want to be strong and you're thinking, well, that happened 6 months ago, that happened 2 years ago, I should be over it by now.
Right.
I hear that all the time from people. And there's got to be a time where you stop the bus and you deal with it.
And that's that expression part. You really do have to express it.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter if it happened 5 years ago. Maybe that is the source of what is still eating at you today.
Absolutely, absolutely. You can't work toward change in that area until you really acknowledge it. And you get powerful about making some changes in your attitude.
And just make sure you tell it to the right people that you can trust.
That's why I said someone that you love and someone who really cares for you. Yes.
Or a paid professional. I mean, I'm just saying, I've heard that works. Anyway, for more information on Pat Barone, you can always go right to our web channel. Her information is there. Thank you so much, Pat.
Thanks.
We appreciate it.